Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Journey of Explaining English podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're starting something bigger, deeper, and honestly, a little terrifying.
And hello from me too, I'm Ben. We're really excited to have you here with us today because we just finished a 30-day challenge that completely rewired our brains and the way we live. And we're going to break it all down, naturally, through conversation, so you can learn English while joining the journey. Yeah, this whole thing started with one simple realization. We were addicted to our phones. I mean, really addicted. Not like, haha, I check TikTok a bit too much. I'm talking full-on dependency. Oh, 100%. I was averaging 7 hours a day on my phone. 7. That's basically clocking in for a full-time job, except my job was doom scrolling and avoiding my own thoughts.
I remember when you told me that. I laughed because I thought, wow, he's worse than me. And then I checked my own screen time and yeah, let's just say I wasn't better. I was basically a zombie with a touchscreen.
And it wasn't just the hours. It was the chaos in our minds. My attention span was so bad that if someone said, "Hey Ben," I needed like 4 seconds to process the sound. My brain was buffering like a cheap Wi-Fi router.
Same here. I'd open my phone to check one thing, then magically I'd find myself 30 minutes deep into random videos about frogs wearing hats. And the worst part? I didn't even like frogs wearing hats. That's when I realized something was seriously wrong.
So we did the dramatic thing. We bought a time-locked box, dropped our phones in, set the timer to 30 days, and let it seal itself like a prison door.
I swear I heard the phone screaming as the lock clicked.
Yeah, that was probably your soul screaming. Fair point.
But yeah, that first morning without the phone, wow. I woke up and immediately reached out to my nightstand. My hand touched empty wood and I panicked like I lost a limb.
Same. I kept patting my pockets as if my phone might magically teleport back to me. It was like muscle memory was yelling at me, "Hey, do the scrolling thing. You know you want to."
And here's something useful for English learners. That feeling is called phantom phone syndrome, when your brain thinks your phone is there even when it isn't.
And oh boy, we felt it. Day 1 felt like time slowed down. Without the phone, mornings were so weird. I didn't know what to do while my coffee brewed. Normally, I'd scroll, but that habit was gone, so I just stood there. Like a tree. Exactly like a tree. No thoughts, just existing.
But by day 3, something started shifting for me. Not in a big dramatic way, just small things. Like, I noticed sounds outside. I noticed how my tea smelled. I noticed how my brain wasn't rushing forward all the time.
Yeah, day 3 was interesting. It was the first day I didn't automatically reach for my phone every 30 seconds. I still felt the urge, but it was softer. More like a whisper instead of a scream. And I remember you told me, "Hey Alex, I think my thoughts have slowed down." And I thought that was so funny because that's usually something people say after a meditation retreat, not after losing access to Instagram. To be fair, going without Instagram is a meditation retreat, a really painful one.
True, but then we hit day 5 and honestly, that was the first breakthrough. I woke up feeling calmer, clearer, like my brain had finished rebooting. Me too.
It was the first day I didn't feel panicky in the morning. I actually enjoyed making breakfast, and I sat in silence, not awkwardly, not angrily, just peacefully.
And for our listeners learning English, silence is actually a powerful thing. When you remove distractions, you make space for your mind to process language, thoughts, habits, everything.
Yeah, because without my phone, I started reading again. I practiced vocabulary without distractions. I even listened to audiobooks and actually absorbed the words instead of zoning out. And here's where it gets honest. Removing the phone also removed our escape. I realized on day 6 that I had been using my phone to avoid uncomfortable feelings. Oh yeah, that hit me too. Without the constant scrolling, I started thinking about stuff I usually bury, like stress, insecurities, old emotional junk that I didn't want to deal with. And facing those emotions without a screen, man, that was tough, really tough. But it also made me feel more human, more present, more real. English learners, listen, when you remove noise, you give your mind the chance to speak. Sometimes it says difficult things, but those things matter. And by day 10, something surprising happened. I felt different. Not perfect, but more grounded, more alive. Like my brain finally had enough space to think clean thoughts instead of being crammed with stress and notifications.
Same here. And that's where our journey really took a turn. Something happened after day 10 that neither of us expected. Something that changed everything about how we understand ourselves and our habits.
And it wasn't dramatic in the Hollywood sense. It was subtle but powerful. It was the beginning of the real transformation.
We'll keep going from right here, but yeah, day 10 was the start of the real story.
The funny thing is, the transformation didn't start with some big event. It started with tiny realizations. Like on day 11, I went for a walk without headphones for the first time in years, and I actually heard my footsteps. I didn't realize I hadn't heard them in so long.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. And I said something like, "Congrats, you've rediscovered being a human." But honestly, the same thing happened to me. I walked into my kitchen that morning and realized I could actually smell things again. Not literally smell things better, but smell things with attention. My brain wasn't multitasking anymore.
Exactly. It was like our senses slowly powered back on. And without the phone, I noticed my thoughts weren't jumping randomly anymore. They were moving in straight lines instead of zigzags.
And here's something our English listeners should pay attention to. When your mind slows down, your language ability gets sharper. It's not just concentration, it's clarity. Without distractions, you start to hear yourself think in the language you're learning.
Yeah, totally. On day 12, I actually caught myself thinking in English without effort. I wasn't forcing it. It just happened naturally because my brain wasn't overloaded.
Meanwhile, on day 12, I found myself doing something extremely weird. Staring out the window for like 20 minutes straight. No purpose, no urgency, just observing.
That's not weird. That's mindfulness. You accidentally became a monk.
A monk with terrible posture, but still, it felt peaceful. And I realized something important. Having no phone didn't make time slower, it made time visible. I could actually feel minutes passing.
Same thing happened to me on day 13. I was cooking, and I didn't burn anything. Not because I suddenly became a chef, but because I wasn't checking a screen every 30 seconds. I was just present.
And that day, I learned something about myself, too. I'm uncomfortable with silence. Not because silence is bad, but because silence makes my thoughts louder. Without the phone, those thoughts finally came up.
Yeah, day 14 was my emotional day. I woke up and felt this heavy wave of sadness. Nothing had happened, I just wasn't distracted anymore, and everything I had been pushing away came up.
Same here. Day 14 hit me like a truck. I woke up feeling hollow. Not depressed exactly, just aware of things I'd been avoiding. And I think that's the moment when I understood why the challenge mattered.
Phones don't just steal time, they hide truth. When you remove them, you meet yourself again, the real you, not the distracted version.
And I think our listeners should understand this too. When you learn English, or any skill, the biggest enemy isn't difficulty, it's distraction. When you remove distraction, your brain has room to grow.
Exactly. And the brain grows fastest in the space we usually avoid: silence, boredom, and honest self-thinking.
On day 15, something really surprising happened to me. I woke up and felt calm. Not, I just meditated for 2 hours calm, just lightly peaceful, like my brain finally stretched its legs and took a deep breath.
Day 15 was special for me too. I remember sitting at my desk working, and an hour passed without me even realizing it. I stayed in deep focus the whole time. I hadn't felt that kind of focus since I was a kid.
Same. I think that's the day I told you, "Ben, I think my brain's battery finally charged." And you laughed.
And said, "Yeah, dude, your mental Wi-Fi signal is finally strong." And it was true. Everything felt clearer, cleaner, like someone wiped the fog off my mind.
Day 16 was when I noticed something interesting. Boredom stopped scaring me. You know how we always grab our phones the moment we feel even 1 second of boredom?
Oh yeah, tiny boredom, micro boredom, the "I'm waiting for water to boil, so let me scroll through 5 apps" boredom.
Exactly. But by day 16, boredom didn't hit me like an emergency. It felt normal. Spacey, but normal. And that's when creativity started coming back. I had actual ideas again.
Same here. Day 16 was when I picked up a notebook and started brainstorming things I hadn't thought about in years. Work ideas, travel plans, even personal goals. Without the phone, my imagination finally had room to breathe.
And on day 17, something huge happened to me. I realized I hadn't felt anxious all morning. Not once. No buzzing brain, no restlessness. My mind was quiet.
That was the day I told you, Alex, dude, I think this challenge is rewiring us. And you said,
If my brain gets any calmer, I'm gonna levitate.
honestly, it felt true. Day 17 for me was the first day I felt genuinely happy without needing stimulation. Like happiness wasn't something I had to scroll for. It was something I already had.
And the beautiful part is English learners listening to this. That peaceful internal space helps language soak in naturally. When you aren't distracted, you process things deeper.
Day 18 was my confidence day. I woke up feeling like I was finally in control of my mind instead of being dragged around by it.
Day 18 was big for me, too, because I finally realized something important. I didn't actually miss my phone anymore. I missed people, sure, but I didn't miss the constant buzzing.
Yeah, the fear of missing out disappeared. It became FOMNT, fear of missing nothing, because nothing online felt important anymore.
And that's where day 19 took us to the next level, the emotional level, the deeper stuff that really defined the rest of the challenge.
The deeper stuff really defined the rest of the challenge, yeah. Day 20 was the day everything clicked for me. I realized I wasn't trying to survive without my phone anymore. I was actually enjoying life more without it.
Same here. Day 20 felt like the halfway point where the challenge stopped feeling like a challenge. It became a lifestyle. And the crazy thing is, I didn't want to go back.
Day 21 was a turning point for my English, too. I was speaking to myself out loud while cooking, which I normally never do, and it felt natural, like my brain was warming up instead of freezing.
Day 21 for me was the silence day. The whole day felt slow, soft, and almost meditative. I remember journaling and thinking, why does this feel so good? And then I realized my mind had space again.
Day 22 was funny. I found a book I'd bought 2 years earlier and never opened. Without my phone, I read half of it. And that night, my dreams were in English again. It felt like my brain was switching languages more easily.
Meanwhile, I was outside on day 22, just sitting in a park. No phone, no music, no notifications. And for the first time in a long time, I felt connected to everything around me. Not in a magical way, just awake.
Day 23 showed me how addicted I really had been. I went to a cafe and saw everyone staring at their phones. And suddenly, I wasn't jealous. I was relieved. Like, I'm free from that. It felt powerful.
Day 23 hit me the same way. I saw myself in those people, the old version of me, scrolling, checking, tapping. And for the first time, I didn't want to go back to that version.
Day 24 became the clarity day. I started listing things that actually mattered to me. My goals, my values, my dreams. And seeing them on paper made me realize how far I had drifted because of distraction.
On day 24, I called my mom from a public phone booth. She laughed so hard, but it felt so genuine. No multitasking, no half attention, just a real conversation. I hadn't had one like that in years.
Day 25 was when I finally understood the challenge. It wasn't about removing a phone. It was about removing noise. Internal noise, external noise, all of it.
Exactly. Day 25 reminded me that I'm happiest when I'm fully present, when I'm doing one thing at a time, when life isn't a constant stream of interruptions.
Day 26 gave me something I didn't expect. Gratitude. I felt thankful for simple things: food, air, light, time. My brain wasn't racing anymore, so I could actually appreciate things.
On day 26, I remember telling you, dude, I think I actually like myself again. And you said, good, someone has to.
And we laughed harder than we had in months, because it was true. We were becoming people we liked again.
Day 27 was peaceful, almost too peaceful. I sat in my room doing nothing for 15 minutes. No guilt, no urge to be productive, just stillness. And that's when I realized life doesn't always need to be filled.
Day 27 was similar for me. I think that's when I accepted that boredom isn't the enemy. It's the doorway. Boredom leads to creativity, to ideas, to healing, to language learning, to everything.
Day 28 gave me one final emotional wave, the truth wave. I saw clearly which habits were hurting me, which relationships mattered, and which dreams I wasn't chasing. It was raw but real.
Day 28 hit me too. I realized how distracted I had been from my own life, how many moments I had missed because my attention was somewhere else, usually inside a phone.
Day 29 was the calm before the end. I felt ready, stronger, clearer, softer, more human.
Day 29 for me was the first day I felt proud of myself, not for doing something impressive, but for doing something honest.
And then, day 30, the final day. I woke up and everything just felt right. Quiet, grounded, bright, like my mind had come home.
Day 30 for me was simple. I didn't want my phone back, not because phones are bad, but because my life finally felt like mine again. I had my attention back, my focus back, my thoughts back.
And that's the lesson we want our listeners to take away. If you want to learn English better, think better, live better, protect your attention. That's the foundation of everything.
We didn't just remove our phones.
We rediscovered ourselves. And you can too. Even if it's not 30 days, even 1 hour a day of quiet can change the way your brain learns, listens, and speaks.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here with us through this journey.
We loved sharing this with you, truly.
We hope it inspires you to slow down, think deeper, and take back your attention.
And we'll see you in the next episode of
The Journey of Explaining English Podcast.
Take care, everyone, and be kind to your mind. Goodbye.